When I think of the CIA, I would always wonder, what is the CIA? What does the CIA do? How do they operate? Who is in command? Who do they work for? I have always wondered about these questions because the CIA has always been the devil's hands in the shadows and the God's hands when in the light. So why don't we listen to what Scott Ritter has to say about the CIA and their MO?
Government, the CIA, I mean, how much of a part do they still play in, let's say, current events like today? I mean, what's going on in the conflict in Ukraine and Russia? What is their involvement, or has it been diminished over the years? Have, budgets cut back, or have they been actually increased with the CIA?
The CIA has three major directorates. One is the Directorate of Intelligence. Now, I could be dating myself. They may have renamed it, but DI, Directorate of Intelligence, they're the analytical branch. Their job is to receive information from a variety of sources and then to assess this information and produce intelligence products that inform the policy-making branch of the United States. So the CIA sort of works for the President of the United States, and then that product can be shared with other decision makers, the Secretary of Defense, Congress, Treasury Department, Secretary of State can be shared there. But basically, they work for the president. Their number one product, the principal product, is the presidential daily briefing. And this is a briefing the president gets every morning about the most pressing issues in the world. And it's the CIA's job to put this together and brief him. And then from that comes other things. Then there's the DO, Directorate of Operations. And the DO's job is supposed to be primarily intelligence collection. All that data that those CIA analysts get is collected by the Directorate of Operations. And they can use a variety of means and techniques and such, but their primary focus is human intelligence. They have what they call case officers, CIA officers, whose job is to recruit spies to go out abroad and find people who possess information that could be useful to the United States and get them to give us that information through one means or another. And so that's what they do. But these case officers also get involved in what can be called, covert action. This can be political in nature. The CIA is very adept at overthrowing governments, going in and buying governments, buying politicians, infiltrating unions, infiltrating intellectual groups, infiltrating universities, and seeking to control societies, to shape the world in image. Because from their perspective, it's better to get a nation to change its color, so to speak, internally than it is to have the United States have to externally do it. So, and if the United States is going to intervene, it's better to shape the battlefield, so to speak, the way you want to do it. So you have these covert operatives that are doing this. They also do other clandestine operations. They'll blow up bridges. They used to assassinate. Under law, they're not allowed to do that anymore, but the CIA sort of does its own thing. They basically, any dirty trick you can think of, the CIA does it. And they do it today. Now, has the CIA's role diminished? In 1975, there was the Church Committee that met because of the excesses, the abuses of the CIA, in particular what they did domestically. And there was a backlash, and the CIA was diminished, especially in the DO, Directorate of Operations. Case officers were pushed out and such. But it grew and it grew and it grew. And after 9/11, the CIA just exploded, especially in the clandestine services. They stopped being so much about intelligence collection as they did about global manipulation. When you take a look at the CIA, they've reorganized themselves into what they call mission centers. And the mission center, it used to be the DI, the Director of Intelligence. Their analysts sat in one part of the building, and then the DO, they sort of worked in another part, and never the two shall meet. They had these special officers. I can't remember what they're called, but they're the ones who receive the reporting from the case officers, and then the reports officers, they call them. I might have a different name today, and they wrote the reports, and then they would give those reports to the analysts, and the analysts were in a little cubbyhole, and they would read things and write things and all that stuff. Every once in a while, they would ask a question to the reports officer, then the reports officer would send it out to the DO. But two separate things. I used to spend a lot of time in the building in the CIA headquarters, and the analysts they had their own little dining facility, and they could all sit there. And but the other people, they never came there because you weren't supposed to ever see their faces. They ate in a separate part of the building, and the analysts weren't allowed to in that second part. And these guys hardly ever went over there because, again, they're not supposed to exist. And but then the mission centers were created because this was deemed to be ineffective, especially after 9/11. So they brought them together in geographic focused areas. And the reason why I bring this up is there's a mission center for every part of the world. And if you have a CIA mission center, that means the CIA is plotting 24/7 how to manipulate that part of the world to the benefit of the United States. And we have a mission center for Russia and Eurasia. We have a mission center for China. We had a mission center for Iran, but that's been downgraded now. But there's an office in the CIA for every part of the world. And in each capital, we have a U.S. embassy. And in the embassy, there is a chief of station. And his job is to carry out CIA missions. He'll have a staff of case officers, and they will go out and they will recruit networks of agents who work for them. And in every country in the world, without exception, the CIA runs a secret shadow movement. Sometimes it's big, representing shadow governments. Sometimes it's shadow armies, paramilitary armies. Sometimes it's shadow economies. Sometimes it's downgraded. But the CIA operates a shadow world out there that the American people are unaware of. Most American policymakers are unaware of it. The CIA doesn't talk about it, but they're there. And when we talk about Ukraine, we need to understand the CIA has been involved in Ukraine particularly, since 1945. Now, back then it was the OSS, the Operations of Strategic Services, but they've been involved in Ukraine, in manipulating Ukraine, in carrying out violent actions in Ukraine since 1945.
Thanks for watching the video, and please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much.